Time to get these plants in the ground. I'm finishing up my fall and winter containers today. I did have some boxwoods in here, and I pulled them out and transplanted them into the garden in a couple of spaces where I had some holes and I needed replacements, so it worked out good. I refilled my containers here with fresh, new potting soil. I like to use this Berger Pro Mix. It's an all-purpose potting soil mix. Plus it comes in this big bale. It's compressed, so there's a lot of potting mix in here, a lot of potting soil in here. And it's a lot more cost efficient. Plus it's really good potting soil. Get it at Petals from the Past, but they also have it at my co-op, so you might could find it there. So I filled up both of my containers here with fresh new potting mix, and now I'm going to plant my containers. We planted all of my other containers together a few weeks ago. There's a video of us doing that together, and I didn't have enough plants to do this one. And I decided I want to do this one dramatic. I want this one to be really full and really beautiful, because these two containers flank the entrance going into our home. So I like to do these really nice and full and beautiful and have a lot of seasonal color right here at the entrance. So to create a beautiful dramatic container, I like to start with my Thriller. This is Camycypris Blue Feathers. It is a beautiful little evergreen. It ends up in the fall with like a little hint of red purplish tips on it. It's so, so pretty. And this will be able to stay in this container probably for about 3 years. And then I can just come in and fill it up with color each season. It's probably going to get about 3 or 4 feet tall right here in this container. And then in about 2 to 3 years, I'll be able to transplant it out in the garden somewhere. So this is my Thriller. This is going to make a bold statement here in the container. And then I'm going to add my fillers, which I'm using this flowering kale. And I'm just going to kind of put it to the side over here at an angle, and it'll get real nice and full and chunky. Then I'm going to add more fillers, and this is a beautiful little viola called Beacon Rose. It's so pretty. So I'm just going to fill this rest of this pot up with this pretty little viola. So I've got my Thriller, my fillers, and my spiller. I've got some variegated vinca here that I've been saving in my pot over here where I dug it up from another pot. And this is going to be my spiller. So I'm just putting it kind of to the edge, hanging over this pot a little bit, kind of at an angle, and it's just going to spill out all right here at the entrance. I've got a couple of pieces, and I'm just going to put them in here. It's a beautiful little variegated leaf. And this is a perennial, so this will still be in here come this summer. I won't have to replace my Thriller or my spiller. I'll just have to come in the summertime and replace these violas and kale with some summer color, like some vinca or something like that. I'm gonna plant the Thriller here to the back of my container. That way it gives me all this space in front of it to plant the color. And then I'm gonna plant my flowering kale right here to the side, a little bit at an angle. And it'll just kind of fill up this corner. Then I'm going to add my violas all throughout the rest of the container and just fill it up. I'm just gonna fill in the soil all around my plants really good. Now I'm just gonna plant these little white violas all in front of the containers. Give us a lot of pretty color. I like to put all my pine straw down first and then just come back and push it away and plant my little violas. It's just easier to me to do it like this than to plant these and then come back and have to meticulously put my pine straw around them. Bees have been in these little cells too long. I've got these red ones left over from when we planted the GreenStalk, so I'm just gonna pop them in some pots to put at the back door. For Jean's mom too. She would probably enjoy this being on her porch. Well, we replaced a few of the plants in the cottage garden that needed to be replaced. I've still got more to do. We got the containers planted. So now let's take a little walk around the cottage gardens and just show you what they look like in December. This is the front entrance into our home. And these are our containers that we just got planted. We had a bit of a frost this morning, so it kind of shocked them a little bit. But they're going to be really pretty when they fill out. And then when we come this way, those are the limelight hydrangeas back there in the back. And I just pruned those back. And they're a paniculata hydrangea. So you really can prune these in the fall, but the best time to prune these would be late winter, early spring. That's your best time to prune them But I wanted to go ahead and get the garden cleaned up, so I went ahead and pruned them all back. And then I've got some roses, and this one is Verdun. My boxwoods here suffered, and I believe it was just the drought. You can see this one here, the inside of it's gone. But I saw new growth down in there popping up, so I wanted to just give it a chance. And this is where I transplanted one of the boxwoods that was in my pot right here, just to hopefully fill this space out right here really well. That is, and boxwoods of course are evergreens, and my goal here is to try to hide this white vinyl siding here with the evergreens. What I'll do to make these look better is around January, February or so, I'll come in and I'll prune those down a good bit and try to make them where they're more uniform. I don't want to do it now, because if you prune right now, pruning encourages new growth, and we really don't want new growth right now with winter coming around the corner. So right here I did have 3 arborvitaes, and they died in the drought. They're not very drought tolerant. So I replaced it with a pineapple guava, or Feijoa is the botanical name. And I love, love, love this. It has the pretty silvery foliage on the back. It's a beautiful evergreen. It develops a flower on it. It's like a red and white tropical looking flower. It is edible, and this would make little guava fruit if I had another plant to pollinate it. But mostly I just love it for the evergreen foliage on it. It's gonna get really big and fill up that whole corner right there, and hopefully provide a little bit of shade on these 2 rooms right here, because the sun's pretty intense. But the Feijoa, or the pineapple guava, will get probably 10 feet tall and that wide. So that's really gonna fill that space up nicely. So I've got more boxwoods here, and I really wanted to put another one there, but I don't have room. That pineapple guava is gonna fill up that whole corner. And then all in here, which you can't see a lot of it, but I've got different perennials, and that's dyed back, and I've got roses. Then as we come around here, this is the Vaccinium Darwii, or the ornamental blueberry, and you can see how pretty this is, and like this just stays beautiful all year. And it blooms in spring, and the bees and all the pollinators love it. And then it makes little blueberries in the late spring, summer that are edible, but they're tiny, and you probably really don't want to eat them, but they are edible. I love including this plant in my gardens just because it adds all of that year-round interest. And these roses are Lamarne roses, and you can see how beautiful the foliage still is. It's December and the foliage is still bright green, and it's got that glossy finish to the foliage. And the roses of course are gorgeous. And it is a repeat bloomer, so they bloom spring, summer, and fall. I just added these 2 agapanthus. There's one and one on that side of the rock. And these were gifted to me by Linda Carruthers, I believe is how you say her last name. She brought these to me, and she brought Jason and Brooks on from Cog Hill to the Gulf Coast Conference. We got to meet her there, and she gave us these agapanthus, and I've just been waiting on a good home for them, and I think this is going to be really pretty here. Behind my Lamarne roses here, this is a tulip magnolia, and they are so pretty. This is going to get probably about 20-25 feet tall, and hopefully shade this whole corner and shade those windows again. And it's just got beautiful spring blooms. It's one of the first trees that set their blooms out in the spring, and it's just gorgeous. Behind it I have little lime hydrangeas that we went ahead and pruned. And then over behind that in that corner is a dwarf tea olive, Osmanthus fragrans. It's a beautiful evergreen, and it puts out these very, very fragrant blooms that will just scent your whole yard. Then over here, I've got a gardenia, and these are more roses. And we just replaced this camellia here. This one is Taylor's Perfection. So all in here, we've got different roses and different perennials. These are Bobo hydrangeas here and on that side. Then I've got my arborvitaes and my boxwoods. These are Korean boxwoods, and I love, love, love those. My arborvitaes suffered a bit from the drought. Got a lot of brown and dead on them. But I think they're gonna be okay. I think these will be okay. I'm just going to, in March, I'm gonna come in and fertilize them really good and try to green them back up. That is a Pink Perfection camellia right there. And I love camellias. Camellias are the Alabama state flower, which is funny to me because their origin is from China, but they're our state flower and they're beautiful. And it's probably just because all of the old southern plantation homes are just full of camellias and azaleas, and they're just beautiful. So I've got a lot of camellias included in the garden here. The japonica camellias will bloom in the late winter and early spring, and then Sasanqua camellias, which I have a lot of those on the back of the house, bloom in fall and winter. So it gives you different blooms at different times of the year, and it provides that evergreen foliage in the garden. This is a Blue Point juniper, which I had in these containers over here at the storage building, and we pulled those out of those containers and planted them in the gardens this past spring. And then in here I've got crystal fairy roses and some catmint and some different perennials. So as we move around to the back of the garden here, there is another arborvitae. And right here I had Pieris japonica, or temple bells, all in the beds here. I have one that survived. I've planted those here 2 different times. Both times they've died. I think that they just might get a little bit too much sun right here, and maybe that's why that one survived, just because it's more tucked in there and gets a little more shade. So I've got to come up with what I want to plant here. And it's got to be something that can tolerate some sun, but also gets a good bit of shade. So I'm still working out what I want to put here. I've got different Lenten roses like placed all throughout the garden beds back here. This is a camellia. I believe this one was Stephanie's Golden, and it just finished blooming. It was really, really pretty. And in front of it, I've got some Lenten roses. And this is a dwarf gardenia right here. And this is Phlox. Thrift is also what it's called. And this is the white one. We come around here. This is our back porch. This is mountain laurel, which is a native here, and it puts out really, really pretty blooms. It's evergreen. And you see all of this ground cover here. This is angel vine, and I just popped a few in the ground, and it's just spread and took over everything, and I love it. That's a hydrangea, a mop head hydrangea. Now you don't want to prune these right now. This is going to bloom on the old wood, so you don't want to prune it or you won't get any blooms. You want to prune these right after they finish blooming. Here's another Sasanqua camellia. Same thing repeated on this side. That's gardenias and phlox. And then back there, that is a viburnum. It's called Spring Bouquet. Puts out these beautiful little blooms. You can see it's setting its buds now. And it blooms these pretty little pink and white blooms in early spring. And then it develops a berry on it that's like a metallic blue berry. Really, really pretty evergreen shrub. I moved a Lenten rose right here, and I need to pick up a few more. I want to just circle this bird bath with Lenten roses. Over here, I reworked things a little bit. I moved this camellia over kind of to the center of that wall. This is Alba plena, which is this Sasanquil camellia. It's white. It's really, really pretty. And I've got a couple of mop head hydrangeas here. I believe these are Sister Teresa. I hope they are, because I want them to be white. I know that one is, but I moved this one and I'm not really sure what it is. I hope it's a white one. But I'm going to get a few more hydrangeas and just kind of fill in these spaces and this space a little bit, and have my hydrangeas where they kind of round my camellia there. And then back in the back corner back here, these are bear's breeches, or Acanthus mollis. I had those planted right there where those gardenias were, and they just got too much sun and they could not perform, but they survived. So I moved them there, and I moved the other one right there. You can barely see the little green, but that's going to be really pretty back there on the sides of this camellia, because they get really full, that real pretty foliage, and then eventually, takes a while, but they'll send up this real pretty purple white stalk of a bloom. It's just gorgeous. So I think that's going to be really nice coming out of that corner. And then here is where we hang our bird feeders, and I'm going to get some anemones and plant all around that. That'll be really pretty. Then over here I've got a banana shrub, which I've formed it into a tree shape. This is the sweetest plant. You can see it's developing these little buds on here, and these are going to bloom little pale yellow flowers, and they smell like ripe bananas. I really love this tree here. I love the bloom. I love the fact that it's just an old-fashioned plant that you might would have found at your grandmother's house. And I love that sweet banana fragrance. The blooms are really cute. So I like having this here. And it's evergreen. And then below it, I've got Lenten roses all in here. And that's just a little variegated. I really don't know what it is. I dug it up from my mother and father-in-law's old house when we moved them, and I just love that variegation. If you know what that is, let me know. I really don't know. I'm thinking it might be some sort of variegated euonymus, but I'm not sure. So back here, I've got a rhododendron that I pulled out of the throwaway pile at Petals when I worked there. It was just a little tiny stem, and I thought I could save it, and I did. I love these evergreen rhododendrons. They are just beautiful. And then right in here, I've got hosta all along here. Of course, you can't see it right now. It's already died back. And then these beds are kind of new. And I've lost these arborvitaes a couple of times. I've replaced them. This is my kitchen windows right here. And when I look out those windows while I'm washing dishes, that's where my sink is. This is my view from my kitchen window. And this is why we positioned the house the way we did, is because out the kitchen window you can see the creek. I don't know if y'all can see it, but that's the creek. We can see all kinds of wildlife. I've watched turtles come up that bank. I've watched hawks, deer, snakes. I've even watched snakes crawl across there. I've seen all kinds of wildlife right here, just standing at my kitchen doing dishes, and birds like crazy. They love these trees here, and there's all kinds of birds right here that I get to see out my window. So in these beds, I've got arborvitaes on each side of my windows here. Then in between those are boxwoods, and these are gumpo azaleas. They're little white gumpo azaleas. So they're evergreen, and they bloom white azalea blooms late spring, early summer maybe. And then in here, I'm going to come back and add some ground cover type perennials in front of those boxwoods eventually. We move around. I've got another gardenia here. And these were my little dwarf blueberries here. I transplanted them, and they're alive. They're just struggling, but I'm thinking by spring they're going to look good. I need to get another one to go here. This is a camellia. I think this is magic orchid white, I think is what that was. Then I've got more of those little dwarf blueberries here, all along here. Then we come back around to the house, the front of the house, and this is another Blue Point juniper that we transplanted from the pots at the storage building. In front of that is some drift roses. I believe these are the apricot ones. Those are more limelight hydrangeas that are eventually going to be the same size as on that side. And we're back at the front. These are the cottage gardens all around my house. I have a few more garden beds all along the driveway, the storage building, and a few other places around the garden shed, the chicken coop. And we'll take a look at those a little bit later. I haven't got those cleaned up yet, but we'll take a look at those maybe in the next week or so. Even though this garden is not full of luscious, beautiful blooms and color, it is still a very interesting and beautiful garden. And I think that one of the best design tips that I can give you is when you're creating your gardens, think about year-round interest. You know, it's easy for us to plant our gardens in the spring with all of the color and all of the blooms in the spring, but think about the summer when it's super, super hot. What can you plant in your garden that can tolerate that heat and still bloom? Then think about fall. What can you add to your garden that's going to provide a lot of fall color or a lot of fall interest? And then think about winter, which is probably one of our hardest months to work around. For winter, you can add a lot of evergreens. There's different things that do bloom in the winter. Even some of your deciduous plants, which are plants that lose their leaves in the winter. The form and the structure of that plant can be very interesting. So probably the best design tip that I can ever give anybody is when you're designing and planting your gardens, think about the whole year. Think about how you can make your garden interesting the whole year. If you've been following us on Instagram or Facebook, then you know we've got a new addition to the farm. So I'm going to introduce you guys to him right now. Picking our baby up today. A new addition to the farm. Isn't he cute? Look at his blue eyes.
Hey there, buddy. Well, I got me a new male goat. This is Domino. He is a Nigerian. He is a sweet little baby boy. He's about, 6 weeks old, 7 weeks old. Is that right, buddy? But we're gonna kind of keep him around for a few days and bond with him before we put him out there in the jungle. Oh boy. But he's a sweet little thing.
Y'all meet Domino. This is our new little Nigerian dwarf. He has blue eyes and he's registered. He's gonna be a good buck for us. Our plan here on the farm with our goats is to breed them and sell baby goats. So he's gonna make some pretty babies. Keeping goats costs money, and what we would like is for everybody to at least earn their keep around here. So we're gonna breed these goats and sell baby goats just to help with the cost of feed and hay and all of their goat care, their shots and their medicines and everything that they need. I would like to eventually milk the goats and use the milk for making cheese and yogurt, and maybe even learn how to make some goat's milk soap with some of my herbs. But that's a goal for the future. Right now our goal is just to finish getting all the infrastructures and everything set up for our goats. So we're continuing to build the pastures. We haven't finished that yet, but we want to rotational graze the goats. So we're working on different paddocks and to make bigger areas for them. We're going to be building more birthing stalls, and we're getting their feed situation set up a little bit better. We want to get to where we can get in big bales, big round bales of hay for them. So we've got to buy that and build all that. And we're wanting to build a tack room to hold all of the feed and all of the goat supplies, and just to be able to get things more organized around here. So we're still building infrastructures for the goats, and we're still trying to get everything set up right with them. We're also wanting to start adding on to our herd. Right now we have like 8 goats. They're all Nigerian dwarfs. A couple of them, Chester and Chloe, are Nigerian dwarf pygmies, so they're really small. But all of the others are Nigerian dwarfs, and we really love Nigerian dwarfs. When I do get into milking the goats, then I'll probably add in another breed of goat with our Nigerians, maybe like a Nubian or something that has really good milk content. But right now we're just working on building our herd and adding more Nigerian dwarf goats to our farm. And we're gonna be a little more picky now with the goats that we choose to add. We're wanting to get the blue eyes into our mix, and I really want them to be registered. So Domino is our new addition right now, but we will be getting more little goat babies and bringing them home to our farm so that we can breed and have a lot of little goat babies to sell. He's so sweet. Little baby goats are just so sweet. He loves Pixie. Say hey, Domino. Somebody was enjoying pumpkins. Bo, let me see. Y'all like those pumpkins? Huh? If you guys aren't following us over on Instagram or Facebook, y'all go over there and check us out. We're posting content on there every day, and that's just a way that you guys can be more a part of our lives, and we can communicate more together and get to know each other a little bit better. So y'all go check out our Instagram, our Facebook, and we're even posting stuff on Pinterest now. So y'all go look us up on Pinterest and give us a like, a follow, all of those things. And if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, y'all please subscribe. We would love for you to be a part of our community and give us the thumbs up and the likes and the comments and all the things that YouTube wants you to do so that they'll recommend our channel more. Thank y'all so much for joining me in the garden today. God bless you, and I'll see y'all next week.
Hey, Dominoes. Tell them who's going to win today. Roll Tide!